Hey there, Donny Walker here, back to the vintage shed rebuilds. Wearing my old vintage Still hat today. I even got an IEL t-shirt. My friend of mine, Jumbo, up in Coombs, has a t-shirt business, electric t-shirts, and he has IEL ones and these jackets too, like the West Coast Lager, whatnot, right? So yeah. Okay, so I got my some tools I brought home today to take apart this Tillotson and do this HL Tillotson carburetor and fit it back up on this Canadian here, the 1960 Canadian Model 210. I just told you like yesterday, my friend Howard's. So these carburetors, it's funny because I talked about it yesterday about Ireland with Tillotson. And I wasn't thinking right. I knew they were originally actually from the U.S. I just blurbed out and wasn't thinking. Tillotson's been around since 1914. And the fellow that told me this, he got me to go right away to their website, and I looked and checked it out. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, thanks, man. They're a great carburetor. So we'll go through them here and see how it goes. But the history, yeah. 1914, Tillotson started. Yep, 1914. They were like doing car carbs and stuff and all sorts of different things. In Toledo, Ohio. That's where Klinger from MASH is from, I think. So, in 1940s, they developed this diaphragm carburetor system. And I believe that first one on that Distant Mercury that I have is probably one of their first ones, eh? And I'll show you that one later, how the diaphragm's just slightly different. But this series of this one here, they're all the same up to today's type models. The ones that are for industrial motors, high-speed go-kart engines, all sorts of stuff, man. You go to their site and see what they have. They even have their own engine built, a four-stroke that they named Tillotson. And they even have their own go-kart in Ireland, which is very cool because you know me, I love go-karts. Tillotson and go-karts, you gotta like it. But Tillotson's always been kind of the go-to reliable, good carburetor, eh? You look at all the 100 series, 200 series, some 300 series of Husqvarna, all the stills through the years with Tillotsons. Didn't have much problem with them. You could rebuild them and they'll always work again. Not like some of these new functions on some of these new carburetors for EPA. They have these little piston valves and shit in them that you can't even get at in the channels, and once it screws up, it's done, right? You got to change the carburetor. So I just like these old carbs, so let's get at rebuilding it. Remember the needle and seat were leaking, okay, in the last video? So luckily enough, they actually used to have two different lengths of the seat. This one's a brass one, and it's the longer one, and they had a shorter version too in some of their carburetors. Lucky enough, the kit I have, which is a brand new kit, RK114HL. I get these through Still. It has that proper one in it. But this old one also had a plastic needle into a rubber seat, which is kind of odd. But maybe that's what they figured out in those days, eh? But we know this one leaks, so I've taken it out. And the metering lever, and the spring, and the hold down bolt. This one doesn't have the screw that goes down. It's got the one in from the side. The early versions of these HLs had this screw in there that went through and then bolted in through your metering lever to hold it in. So also on these carburetors, under the needle and seat, there's a brass washer down there. And let's see, make sure this bag's got, yeah, it's in there. Let's get this brass washer out of here too, because it'll compress. It might not seal right with the new setup. So let's get that one out of there. Got my stubborn iron. A little hookaroonie thing. A little hookaroonie. Something. Yeah, let's go with that. Usually they just kind of fall out. Dental picks are really good to use for carburetors. You know, I just told you I don't have all my tools here, but I'm going to be getting more here so I can play around here. But let's just look around. I'll find something that we can use. I actually made also today a fuel line grabber. Okay, just out of a piece of welding rod. Okay, so I'm going to bend this welding rod straight now so I can use it as a pointer to kind of get that gasket out of there. I bent two sides of it so I can pull fuel lines out of the tanks, right? Simple. Come on out of there. Yes, it's because when you're videoing, always something comes up. Come on. Yeah, man. Wants to be a little bit of a nuisance, I say. Let's see what else I got kicking around I can use. Oh, man. Okay, so let's take this and straighten a little bit more. And do I have a flat file? Yeah, I think I probably did. No, I didn't. Oh, going. Let's take this welding rod, just make it a little sharper. Okay, I'll make a point. Raker file, great files, man. Nicholson, 211. Okay, this is just a kind of a soft copper rod. So yeah, man, we're back to our normal weather here. Rain like crazy today. There, tons of accidents everywhere, probably from the cooling of the water on the highways. So there's been a bunch of road closure. My one buddy Steve works out by the airport by the Nam River there, and he phoned and said, "Hey man, don't come to Casti or anything." And it's funny because I was gonna go visit Buckin maybe tonight because he was gonna run my Echo demo today, but he got blown out. It was too windy where he went, so in the wind, the loggers don't work. Most of my crews that I deal with, my logger friends, all came in today because they weren't working. Come on, this thing's been in here probably since 1960, eh? Think about that. Come on. Maybe not that hard to get out. This one's gonna be. Always when you're trying to film and do something, show someone, eh? Oh, that's the thing, eh? Come on. Maybe I can get in there with that now. Let me take this tuning screwdriver and sharpen it up, actually. See if that works out better. Make it a point. Maybe be able to push it from underneath. Okay, let's see if that'll fit in there. Look at that. Got it. Good old Stihl tuning screwdrivers. Got hundreds of them, man. Too many of them. So if you ever need any, I'll send you a few. Okay, that's out. Okay. Now, let's get our new carb kit and lay it out to where we are going to change here. Our diaphragms, our needle and seat, and our metering lever. So, I like to have everything in their little spots on the rag I use. Nice clean rag. Clean the carburetor. You know, I should have maybe even took this and ultrasonic cleaned it, but you know what? It's spotless. It's only got hard diaphragms from sitting, older style ones. Yeah, there's no debris in it at all. Even the top screen here, there's a screen under here, in the top plate. I just took that off. It's perfectly clean, and I noticed this carb kit is missing the cork gasket that goes under this cover. So I put this back on because I'm hoping this seals. If it doesn't, I'll have to go get another carb kit. Hopefully it's not missing it. But a lot of times these leak on these covers when they're old because they get warped. The plastic gets warped, you know, and doesn't seal right. So we'll see. I'm going to get the needle and the seat in here, the diaphragms on, and then we'll pressurize it again, eh? Okay, so let's lay out this bag. Here is a Welsh plug that I was going to do the diffuser jets and clean them, but I think this thing's going to be fine. So let me just put that aside. Here's our new seat. It's a chrome color, and I'm just going to put it beside the other one again just to make sure it's that right length. Yes, it is. Perfect. So this one is metal and has a metal seat with a needle like today's carburetors with the rubber tip that is metal, like your regular series HSs and all the carburetors, Zama, whatever. Okay, new metering lever, and there's that new brass little washer that goes underneath, inside under the seat. So I'm going to put that in there right now. Yep, it's laying flat, perfect. Come on, not quite. Well, okay, down in there. And these carburetors, it's just good to change the needle and seat every time. The same carburetor is used on Wajax fire pumps, which are very important for the US and Canada for firefighting. And I'm very, very technical and precise on them. I have to do the carburetor, put a brand new kit in every time. That thing's got to start and run when it gets to that fire, eh? You know, like these guys are out there risking their lives to protect our towns and whatnot. You know, I make sure it's perfect. I don't care if that thing was done last year with a carb kit. I'm going to put another one in anyways. Because the worst thing with Wajax fire pumps is people flood them. It's not because of the carburetor, it's because of the way they start them. Especially if they leave the gas jugs up above. So the gravity sometimes of the heat will actually swell that can and put pressure in the fuel and blow the seat off in this carburetor and flood the motor just sitting. Yeah, so you never want to keep your fuel hooked up to it. Okay, so I just put this new seat in, and with my special 8 mil wrench here that I've ground down, because you need a skinny socket to put these in. So that's a custom thing I make, which I better take back to their shop in case I need it tomorrow. Okay, seat is in there tight. Now I'm going to take the new needle, the metering lever, and our spring, and our bolt, or a pin that holds them in. So I'm going to get a little bit of penetrating oil, or just a little bit of oil here. I like to put on needles and stuff when I put them together. There's another thing I got to put on my list, some LPS spray or some WD-40. I probably got some in here, but I got some mixed gas right here, pre-mixed Husqvarna gas, really good gas, XP, 50 to 1. I believe it's, how much octane? This stuff stays good for 5 years in the jar and 3 years if you open it. I think it's about 94 or 95 octane. Great stuff. Okay, let's pour a little bit in this cap, and I can just use for assembly. Okay, let's just wet it up a little bit in the gas and oil. Let's just put our needle in there. And there's our metering lever. I'm going to take this old spring that's from 1960. To me, it looks a little short. I'm going to give it just a bit of like a stretch. So it's a little bit stronger, eh? Probably back the way it was when it was new. Okay, that's all I do is give them a little stretch, make it a little longer, and it gets a little more springiness to it. Set that down in your hole. Take the new lever. Hook it into the needle. And so the springs in the little detent, or the little round piece there in that metering lever. Okay. Just kind of hold it down after you get it kind of in there. And grab your screw for the end here, your pin that holds this together. Put it through the side of the carburetor, through the metering lever, or fulcrum arm. That's what my dad and me have called them for years, fulcrum arms, like a falcon. Falcon arms. Fulcrum, actually, not falcon. I don't know who actually that name came from. I think around maybe Walbro or something. Okay, so let's get this screwed in. Make sure it's moving up and down good, and it's all connected, and the spring's in the right spot underneath that little round little divot there, eh? So get that tight. Okay, now if you look, our metering lever height is above the inner body of the carburetor here. Okay, where the circuitry board is, your diffuser jets for your low speed and high speed. So I'm gonna just take this. I'm gonna hold the metering arm down where the needle is with this little tiny still tuning screwdriver. Then I'm going to bend the back down so it's even with that body. Okay. Still moves up and down nice. And it's flush with the body. I don't ever remember when I was a young guy if there was actually a metering lever for these, like a setting gauge. We never used one. We just did it what we knew, right? So there we go. That one's set now. And then now we're going to pressurize it to see if it holds pressure. You can do it without putting the whole carburetor together. So here I have my pressure gauge. And I'm just going to hold the line on the carburetor body here where the fuel feed hole is. Where the fuel comes from the fuel pump diaphragms and obviously your gas tank to this needle. Okay? You can just hold it on there and pressurize them just to make sure. But I'm going to take that little cap of gas. I'm going to put a little on top of the needle. I always like to have a little fluid on there, just as if it is actually running as a saw, right? So if it's, if it's got gas in it already, there's going to be pressure on it.
Supper's ready.
Oh, hi, honey. Oh, hey, it's Shelly. Say hi.
Hi. Supper's ready.
Shelly just made some homemade Chinese food, so this guy better get walking. Ha ha. Walker walk. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so let's check this carburetor now, make sure this new needle and seat is sealing, and then we'll put the rest of it together and I'll show you how it every piece goes together. Okay, so let's get it on. I'm not worried about pop-off pressure or anything like a go-kart racing engine. Maybe a lot of you don't understand what pop-off pressure means, but it's the amount of pressure from the fuel that will blow off the seat, the needle off the seat, okay? So you can change the pop-off pressure by changing the spring tension. Cut coils off the spring for a weaker pop-off, or stretch the spring for a higher pop-off. In go-kart racing, we ran about 7-8 pounds pop-off pressure, I think, Tillotson and Walbros on our Yamaha KT100s. So let's just check this one, just make sure it's holding pressure. I don't care about pop-off. Shouldn't have brought that up, but it's very interesting. Okay, so I just hit that with my hand. Wow. It's actually not even holding 10 pounds because that spring is too weak for this system. So I'm going to take so actually, let's do that one more time. I want to show you. So as I'm just pumping this now, let's try it again. Got to get it on there. Right at 10 pounds pressure, it popped off. That's way too light for a chainsaw, okay? It should be up in the 15, at least 15 pounds, okay? So I'm going to take this out right now, and I'm going to stretch the spring, and I'm going to show you how that changes, okay? Let's just remove this long pin screw again. This is important, or the thing will just flood and run really rich. So obviously that mechanism of that old needle and seat and that metering arm of the old one is like a different kind of arc ratio. That's why I said the spring did look small, eh? So let's stretch it out. Oh, way too much. Donny, do I have another carburetor here? Oh, I know. I can fix this. I can fix it. Yeah, it's kind of weak. Maybe it's deteriorating. Oh. Uh-oh. Just dropped it. Ah. Okay. Let's get something. Find it. Oh no, they're so easy to lose. Oh. Gotta be close here. Oh, do I have another carburetor here? Oh, there it is. Got it. Bonus. Okay. Live videos, eh? What do you do? Okay, let's get this scrunched down again. Okay, without losing it this time. Okay. Do I have another carb here though? I actually wouldn't mind using a newer one. I think this might be a little bad. Carburetor. Oh, I got a couple saws here. Nothing apart right now. Wait a sec. Bonus. Got a couple saws, carburetors here. Mac carbs. Me and Buckin were messing around with their 850s. Okay, here we go. Maybe there's a spring in here. Oh, I think my dad gave me these couple 850 carburetors of Zama's, and he informed me they had two different carburetors for those things. One was, some of them leaned out too much, and some didn't run right. Okay, there's a spring. No spring there. Let's just take one apart and grab a spring out of this Zama. Springs are all the same. They're just different tensions, like I just talked about. So let's get this one out of the Zama. And I'm going to just do this part real quick. And I better get in for din-dins, you know. When the boss calls, you move. Ah, I'm just kidding. She's great. She never made me Chinese food before. See how that works out. Okay, let's get the spring out of here. Wow, this carb's very clean too. Nice. Thanks, Dad, for that carburetor. And, oh yeah, there's a better spring. Yeah. Way newer. I think, you know, even that one it looks almost like a brass material, that other one. It's like, you know, and that could be weak from being from 1960, right? You know, here it is. It's like brass, and look at it, it's like weak. Here's the new one. Real nice. Okay, it's got some tension. Okay, let's get that sucker in there. I remember these carbs too on TS350, TS360 cutoff saws been used. 08 still motors. You know, 0 to 70, 090s. All those, eh? Yeah. Just a good, reliable carburetor. Comer go-kart engines. All sorts, man. Okay, come on. Let's get this loosened up. Make sure it's moving up and down good. Springs in the right spot? Yes, it is. All right. Okay, let's try this again. Come on, baby. Oh yeah, it's holding way up now. That's perfect. No bubbles coming out of the needle. Nothing there. So obviously this new needle and seat is seating properly, which it should be. Okay. So now let's just quickly run through what we've done. New needle and seat. Pressurized is fine. It's all good. So let's put the diaphragms on real quick here. Gasket first on the metering side. On most all carburetors for chainsaws and two-strokes. Gasket first, then the diaphragm. And that's where a lot of people make the wrong mistake rebuilding their carburetors at home for homeowners and stuff. Always note how you take it apart and put it back together that way. Now the metering diaphragm. Get that in place there. Yep. Okay. Oh, wait a sec. What's going on here? Is this not exactly the same kit? It's got to be. Oh, there we go. One notch out there. Okay. Metering diaphragm moves up and down. Good. Our first plate, our metering plate, which has the metering side, then your gasket side for your fuel pump diaphragm. Put that on. It's pretty easy. It all just lines up with the dowels, eh? Now your gasket for the fuel pump side. I like to wet the gasket a little bit. gonna wet it with my finger with this gas. Okay. Got a little bit on it, not a lot. Okay. So put it back on the way it fits with the dowels. Then your diaphragm, this has got a Teflon one now versus the old rubber ply stuff that was made from rubber trees from somewhere. Okay, we got that on now. Then our plate for the fuel pump, which where our fuel pump little diaphragm spots will move up and down with from the pulse to pump the fuel through our strainer and our pickup on the top into our metering circuitry. Let's get that plate on. Okay, right on the money. Let's get these screws in, tighten them up, and recheck our carburetor for leakage to make sure the plates aren't leaking and this cover on top I showed you where the fuel inlet isn't leaking with that cork gasket, which I am going to replace. But if it seals right now, I'm going with it. But I will put one in it. Go across like you're torquing ahead. Okay. Wife's calling me now. I got to get going. So let's just get this done. And we'll get on to the next stage of this tomorrow. Okay, go back and forth, make sure they're tight. It's not a D8 cat, doesn't have to be super tight, but just a good torque, right? Okay. Okay, back together. Let's check our pressure now. Make sure it's holding. Oh, geez, I better tighten that, eh? Top cap. Okay, it's sitting on there flat, good. Okay. All right, let's see. Up to 10, 12. Needle's not moving. We're good to go. Okay, tomorrow night, we're gonna put this carburetor on. We're gonna put some fuel in it. I'm not even gonna do the points. I'm gonna try it first. See if it starts and runs. If it's misfiring, not idling, I know there's a condenser problem or a point problem. Okay, or the points just need to be clean, maybe. Yeah. So, hey, IEL, I'll show you my other one tomorrow. I just bought it in the back of my car. Better get it out of there before the wife sees it. Anyways, keep your saw in the wood, stick on the ice, rubber on the road. Keep busy. Build an old saw. Check out the WalkerSawShop.com online store. Have a great night. Thanks for watching. Bye.